Hello, everyone. Guys, we're back.
Hello! Monza.
Yeah, I mean...
Shock.
Yeah.
Happy.
Yeah.
Anger. Disappointment.
For you.
Excitement.
Yeah,
all of these emotions.
Yeah.
All at once.
All at one time.
In Monza.
The Grand Prix, guys. I'm your host, Chad. Of course, we can't skip the formalities, Babyface.
Yes.
And this is my other lovely co-host, the Babyface.
The Babyface. Hello.
Guys, we're back. Shout out to my McLaren boys. Mm-hmm. Babyface, long time coming. First win in 9 years.
Yeah.
First 1 and 2 all 2021 season. First win for Danny Rick since I think 18.
You had, and you called it, McLaren had a 1-2 at Monza. Danny Rick won the Grand Prix. He led the Grand Prix pretty much from the start. Lando Norris finished second, and Bottas finished third on the podium.
I'm gonna just get this out the way. Outside of Danny Rick, driver of the day got to be Bottas. He came from the back, guys, to finish third because Perez got that penalty. Yeah, guys, I couldn't believe it. I did believe it, but it was kind of like, it's really happening. Like, my boys are going to finish 1 and 2, and Danny Rick needed it, and for everybody trying to write my guy off. Is this good enough? Is this good enough? Is anybody still worried? Is this good enough? He's had it since the summer break. He's had strong performance. Is this good enough? For all the naysayers of Danny Rick, is it good enough?
And I'll answer that because I was one of the persons going, I'm worried. I don't know. Yes, I will answer that. Yes, this is absolutely good enough. And I have missed Danny Rick. The late braking, the out in the front, the shoey. We saw the shoey. Lando had to drink from the shoey. Zach Brown had to drink. Well, let me put it this way. They put it in their mouth and they spit it out.
I'm going to tell you something. Guys, I was so happy. I was like, this is what we needed. This is what my McLaren boys needed. Now we're back ahead of Ferrari, I believe, in the standings.
Yeah, by I think 13 or 18 points.
This all happened. I'm going to tell you. Let's get it out the way. I watched Hamilton pass guys clean and fair. We get to Max's pit stop. 11 seconds. Something's wrong with the wheel. Hamilton, guys, that you saw, had a slow in 4.2 seconds. They come out. They start going at it. I knew it was going to be a problem. Because I'm going to tell you something. You could say what you want about Hamilton. But one thing I've never considered, because I've watched him, even in a race when he was going at it with Alonso for 10 laps. There was no colliding. I've watched him go at it with greats for 10 laps. Him and Max don't mix well. They just don't. Because everybody was saying, well, Lewis is a dirty driver. And I'm looking in my head, I'm thinking, I said, wait a minute. It wasn't too long. Some of you same people were probably calling him crash stopping. Let's not forget, he was crashing into a lot of people and things not too long ago. Let's not forget about it. I feel like they said Lewis should have gave him room. It was Lewis's right to defend. Max was off the track when he went over the bump. And so the verdict came in. Max got a 3-grid penalty for the next race. 3 grid. So, and I'm not gonna lie, guys. Lewis is lucky to be alive. Lewis is lucky to be alive. That wheel was not spinning when it was hitting him in his head. When it hit in his head, tapped him. He was hunched over. If that wheel was spinning, I'm not sure if we'd have been talking about Lewis in the same light. That halo helped him. God looked out for him on that one. Because he could have been easily just that dead. Right? And I know it's a part of motorsport and it's a part of the sport, but you know, I watched him and Lando had a tussle. No collision. You know, I watched it. There was no problem. So it seems to be just him and Max get into it. It's part of driving, I get it. The grid penalty, they handed down. Max's fault. That's what they said. How'd you feel?
So actually, I find it interesting that because I agree, and only in one point I disagree with you, because I think this season, because they're fighting for the championship,
Yeah.
we've now seen.
Yeah, that's what I'm sorry I should say that. This season.
Yeah, because I recall you saying before this season.
Yeah, they didn't have a problem.
You kept saying, "I'm not worried about,"
because they're not gonna hit. Like
because they never hit. That's what you used to always say. Oh, I'm not worried about Max and Hamilton because they don't hit. They never hit. That was true up until this season.
Yeah.
But I will dissect that a little bit as we move along. So Monza, this is the way it started. Okay, Gasly had to start on the pit lane because he crashed during the
felt bad for Gasly this
sprint
weekend.
race.
Yeah, felt bad for him.
So Noda was supposed to start from the pit lane, never made it out of the pit lane. So AlphaTauri had a terrible weekend.
In her home Grand Prix, yeah.
Gasly did start, but he ended up retiring. So neither of the AlphaTauri finished. At the beginning, you already had a bunch of rumblings because Hamilton and Bottas were the only two cars on the grid on hard tires.
Smart move.
And at the beginning, even I was like, oh, the hard tires. But then I thought, okay, that makes sense for Hamilton because he's an excellent tire manager. He's going to stay out longer, so the strategy makes sense.
And Bottas started from the back.
Yeah.
He needed, yeah.
Now, where I will say, I was like, oh, this is going to be absolutely no problem. Lap 1, actually turn 1 and 2, when I saw Hamilton right next to Verstappen, I was like, oh, he's going to be fine. That pace, that quickly, with those hard tires, because normally they take a while to really warm up and, get
I think
going.
Hamilton backed off that first corner, too.
Yes, he did.
He backed off.
But, I mean, that fast, that he was already up next to Verstappen, I was like, this is not going to be a problem.
Yeah, the pace. Yeah, you had the pace.
What had me howling, screaming, and yelling and jumping, and you were howling and jumping and screaming too. Right off the start, lights out. Danny Rick.
My boy Danny Rick.
Flies out and gets in front of Verstappen. I lost my entire mind.
I was happy to see it. I was like, yeah, I was happy to see it. It was only right.
That was beautiful.
That was huge.
Beautiful.
Never looked back from that point.
Never did. Once he was out front,
gone.
He was
gone.
Done.
He was gone.
Yeah. Now, also in lap 1, Giovinazzi lost his front wing. I think he got tapped by someone.
I felt bad for him too because he had a strong weekend up to that point.
Yeah.
Guys, and let us know in the comments. I mean, agree or not agree. Let us know what you think. Giovinazzi's racing, in my opinion, everyone should know this. I believe he's racing for a seat.
Yes.
And up to this point, he was performing strong.
He was doing very well.
Strong
and
performance.
that was I mean, it was to be expected because during the sprint yesterday, we saw what could happen at turn 1 and even going into turn 2. So that opening lap. Now, thankfully, Giovinazzi was able to recover quickly and we didn't have a full safety car. He was able to get it back on the road. He did have to pit and get a new front wing. But that, in essence, in effect, really ruined his race. That was it at that point. Lap 9, before all the crazy happened, we saw a fantastic battle between Sainz and Perez.
Yes, we did.
That was some good
Perez put on that was good.
And so did Sainz.
So did Sainz. They didn't collide.
It was amazing. I was like, oh, this is gonna be exciting. Already 9 laps in and we're already seeing this. This is great.
Right.
By lap 13, Bottas was already in 10th place from 19th.
Man, he had the pace.
On
But they knew it. They knew it. He won the sprint race yesterday. They knew it. He had the pace.
That was I was cheering because I'm a Valtteri fan, so I was over here just clapping and howling. I was looking like a seal on the couch by myself. Now, lap 15, Ocon and Vettel had wheel-to-wheel contact. And it was, in my opinion, blatantly Ocon's fault, which the stewards agreed. They gave him a 5-second penalty for that.
Yeah.
Lap 23, your McLaren pit crew showed out. 2.3 pit stop for Danny Rick.
2.3.
To put him on the hard tires.
I knew from there. I was like, oh, we got a shot. I think this is it.
Was
still the deal.
Stellar.
Still the deal.
Stellar. That was amazing. Now, lap 24, this is where everything started to unravel as it relates to that crash. Lap 24, Verstappen comes in to the pits to put on the hard compound tires.
Debauchery. His pit stop was horrible.
His pit stop was 11 seconds.
It was the front right?
I think the front right wasn't put on right. Whatever the case may be. Listen, I honestly, I don't watch Red Bull pit stops that much because I've just come to expect sub 2.
I just knew it was going to be like maybe 2.1.
I was like, there he goes.
Back out. Yeah, he's about to be back out.
And all of a sudden it's like my internal clock was like, oh, he's in. Wait, why is he still in? He's still in. Oh my God, he's still in. So 11 seconds and I thought, oh, that's over. That's over. It's going to be done. Lap 25. So let me finish on Verstappen. Verstappen comes out of the pit and he comes out 10th.
Yup. Way in 10th.
Way in 10th from second because he was following Danny Rick until that
Essentially, if he didn't crash, they ruined his race.
Oh yeah, his race
he was never on Kenshaw's front runners. Never.
No, and he already struggled. I mean, he pitted lap 24. He never was able to get past Danny Rick. Even though the Red Bulls are faster, Danny Rick just kept parking it just right. And it isn't that there are only so many places on every racetrack that you could overtake. He just could not cleanly overtake Danny Rick. So, lap 25. We have Norris pitting. 2.7 seconds, another solid pit stop. Also goes on the hard compound tires. Here comes the second part to where everything went downhill. Lap 26, so 2 laps after Verstappen. Hamilton pits, puts on the medium tires.
4.2 seconds.
Has a 4.2 second pit stop, which also isn't a stellar pit stop.
Not as bad as...
Not as catastrophic as 11 seconds, but not a stellar pit stop. Hamilton comes out the pits. And as he comes out, here comes Verstappen right next to him.
I didn't like it. I was like, I don't know about this one, man. I did not.
Verstappen goes up on the curb, which...
Sent him airborne.
Sent him airborne, especially by the time his right rear tire touches Lewis's left rear tire, and it quite literally went over. This is the part where the halo was... I mean, the Lewis's rear wing and the halo and the helmet and all those components...
In the back of the car, yeah.
Were... Yeah, the rear wing... It was so critical because it happened so fast. But when you saw the slow down, the slow-mo version, and you saw that Verstappen's right rear tire was right on top, it was touching Lewis's helmet.
Yes, it was touching it.
You realized how dangerous that was. Like, that could have compressed his neck, that could have snapped his neck, a lot of things could have happened.
The lucky part, the wheel wasn't moving. Because if he had power in that wheel and it was spinning, he would have been hurt bad, if not dead. He could have died. Because if that wheel was spinning at that velocity against his neck and all you have is a crash helmet, man, it could have been real bad for him.
This is where I got insanely
I know what you're about to say.
PO'd.
Yeah, I know what you're about to go to.
Okay. After that crash, where one car went above another car, over the cockpit, Verstappen gets out of the car, walks off.
Yeah, he did.
Hamilton is still in the car. Now, he's trying to back out. He's still trying to, get out of the car and get out from under Verstappen's car and see if he can still keep going. I was starkly reminded immediately of when the last time that Verstappen and Hamilton came together and Verstappen's car went flying into the wall at 5G and he walked out. He was fine, but he had to be taken to medical center to be looked over as is protocol. And he was tweeting from his hospital bed that Lewis's celebrations on the podium were so unprofessional because here he is in hospital recovering after a crash. Okay, I'm not suggesting that any crash is not difficult on the body and painful and dangerous, but you got out and walked away. So Verstappen gets out the car, walks off, doesn't even bother to look and see if Hamilton is functioning. Doesn't hey, are you okay?
Yeah,
Because I realize you're mad because you're out of the race, you're fighting for the championship. Here again, you get into a squabble with your championship rival. But there has to be a moment where you stop being a racer and then go on to being a man and going, let me see if my fellow racer is alive, breathing, is he okay? Is his neck snapped? Is the car gonna start on fire or is it leaking fuel? Are you okay? As soon as I've ascertained that you're okay, then I can go on about my way bitching that it's your fault, it's my fault, whose fault was it, you shouldn't have done. He didn't do that. He just walked off. And I'm like, wait, are you the same one that was bitching from the hospital bay about Hamilton celebrating on the podium when he won because that was disrespectful? Can we now point the finger at you and be like, well, you're just as bad. You didn't have the sense to go, are you okay? Are you alive? Your car is dangling from Hamilton's. It clearly went over his head. Okay, I'll shut up.
I'm going to tell you. For me, here's the thing. For all the... Because Hamilton used to be a McLaren driver. For all the people claiming Hamilton is this, that, and the third, and he's sensitive, the dude was still trying to back out and drive. And Hamilton could have done the sensitive, emotional thing and got on his Instagram and blasted Red Bull and blasted Max. He didn't do it. For all you people, when I think of sensitive, I think sensitive 24/7. Now, I love or hate the guy. He's still, even on his Instagram now, he kind of was like, chalk one of them things up. It's racing. It happens. We move on. He's already moving on to the next race. We're going to do better. His mind frame is, okay, this kind of thing happens, so let's move on so I can hopefully win this chip. He's not dwelling on it. He's not making 20 million posts about it. He didn't even get on his Instagram after it was over. After the guy walked away, didn't even check to see if he was all right. Now, people say, well, he doesn't have to, but here's my issue with that. If that had been Lewis that his car landed on top of Max, Lewis is the worst ever. He didn't even check. He could have killed the guy. It'd have been so blown out of proportion. But when it happens to Lewis, I'm seeing in some of the comments, what the hell, Halo saved him. It's not the same as a 51G crash. Man, stop that. In that 51G crash, a car wasn't sitting on top of them. The wheel was on the guy's crash helmet and neck. And if that wheel was spinning, how would we have been talking about Lewis? What kind of cracks me up is people pick and choose what they want to nitpick, right? When it comes to Lewis. Some call him sensitive. Some say he's this. Some say he's that. I'll challenge any one of you. I will. I've watched sensitive guys. I watched so-called soft guys. Soft guys don't try to continue a race after, because I know he felt the wheel on his neck and head. Don't try to continue the race. Nor do soft guys, if he's really soft, he'll get on his IG and blast the guy and get all sensitive and emotional. He's the worst driver ever. He's not sportsman. He didn't do any of that. So I challenge all of you that often got the criticism for Lewis. You may not like him, but get a guy one thing. You could call him emotional. Half of that is bluffing in the racing anyway, because people should know that by now. And me and Babyface have talked about this. She's a Mercedes fan. When you hear Lewis on the radio, people don't pick up. Half of it is bluffing. And going back to the last race, when he was what they saw crying and emotional, notice in lap 61 or 2, after all the so-called crying, Max gets on the radio and says, hey, is something wrong with Mercedes? So to a point, it was working, because it had Max asking, is Lewis complaining about something? In his head, Lewis is complaining for a reason. So a lot of the stuff they cry about Lewis whining about on the radio is a bluff, right? It's a bluff. And it's been stated this by people who aren't even still driving. So when they called the guy Sundays this out of third, you could love him or hate him. He could have got there and blasted Red Bull and Max. He didn't. And that's my thing. He still tried to race, but that's okay. Max got the 3 grid penalty.
He did.
He did. Now, I'm interested to see how he feels about that. He even on his Instagram, he stated, hey, the guy didn't leave me room. That's why this happened. And I'm like, okay, cool, fair enough. That's
I think this is sealing Max's championship fight this season. The 3-place grid penalty. I think.
You think this is gonna do him in?
Yep. I think this is the moment we will all look back on at the end of the season and go, this is where the championship was lost.
Why didn't Max? And I'll say, all the Max fans, I know you guys, you all like to nitpick. It seems like, not all of you, but I've seen a number of fans in the comments. To be fair, I've seen you guys nitpick if Hamilton does something very similar to Max, and I get it, you're fans. But at the same time, I would ask the question, why didn't Max back off? Like Lewis did in turn 1, lap 1. Why didn't he back off, right? Because he could have done it. And I've watched Lewis go at it with drivers like Alonso, Lando, and not make any contact. I've watched him do it over the years. In fact, there was at one point has anybody ever questioned Lewis's crashing? Because he doesn't crash too often. But some of these same fans, I'm gonna start calling them out. You all were the same ones calling him crash stopping, meaning when he started, because he kept crashing. So I don't know. I found it interesting. I will say, do I think it's fair? The steward said it's fair. It's fair. Do I think Max meant to go on? I don't think he meant to do that. I don't think he wanted to go airborne. No one meant to do
that. That's just the way. The car went up, and every accident is just that, an accident.
And it's an accident.
Where I get my pennies all in a bunch is the fact that you were in a hospital bed, bitching that it was so unprofessional for him to be celebrating on the podium when he won, and yet you had another nasty crash that involved the both of you, and you didn't have the sense to check if he was okay. If you're setting the tone of, this is very unsportsmanlike, you didn't even bother to check if I was okay, and you're celebrating. Yeah. Okay, well, Max, he was right there. Why didn't you check? If it's that important to you, why didn't you check he was okay before you walked off?
And something else I noticed after that crash in Silverstone, Red Bull stayed on the radio for the rest of it seemed like for many more laps after that, and kept. Well,
the thing is that Red Bull was also pissed off because I don't think they were counting on Hamilton to then win the race.
Well, I'm getting to that. The point is, they stayed on the radio crying about it. Because at the same time, remember Mercedes, we didn't count on Lewis getting out the race because of the crash. They could have stayed on the radio. They didn't. I've always stated this. Mercedes is not my favorite team, but the way they handle things is to me, is in a top-notch, classy way. They're not going to cry about it. I never really see them crying and whining about it. I didn't see Toto Wolff, hey, Stewarts, you need to penalize and we want them back. I didn't see him doing any of that, right? So I got to give it to him in that regard. But moving on, that happened.
The safety car, that crash caused a safety car, and that's very clear. Thank the Lord that Hamilton and Verstappen are both okay, because that could have been really nasty all around. I mean, it was nasty, but it could have been much, much worse. So the safety car was deployed, rightfully so, obviously, and it ended in lap 30.
Right.
Now, I thought, frankly, that I was going to be done with the race. Like, that was quite a moment where I thought, I'm going to need a moment to consume and digest what just happened. But no. It kept delivering. Monza kept delivering. Lap 31, Norris overtakes Leclerc. This was also a defining moment in the race because once Norris
a Ferrari, and we needed that.
Once Norris overtook Leclerc, now we had Danny Rick running in front. With Norris running second, we now had the McLaren 1-2 that ended up winning the race.
We needed it. And babyface, before I forget, I'm going to tell you who else ran solid that I was actually happy for. Russell. Mm-hmm. George Russell. You all know Williams is my second team. Russell ran solid in ninth. Stroll ran solid. Quiet as it's kept. Lance Stroll got seventh. Mm-hmm. Quiet as it's kept. Alonso eighth. And I'm looking. I also have something I gotta bring up too. Any of you Mazepin fans, the guy got a 5-second penalty for hitting his teammate. I'm gonna leave it right there. He's one of those drivers, man. He's gonna say something about Mick, right? And Ralph got involved, and he said, I feel like he took up for his family, and he should be able to do that. And I can do the same. Here's the thing: if I'm Ralph, bottom line, let's get to it. You're in that seat because your dad is a billionaire. That's why you're there. If you check my family's history, we all drive. The Schumacher name ain't only Michael. It's Ralph. We've got other kids to drive, so we're good at driving the car. We didn't buy. A lot of people feel like Mazepin's dad bought that seat, and that's why he's in it.
Oh, there's no sentiment about it. That's a fact.
Because I feel like so far this year, man, this dude is. He's done some wild stuff, man.
He's a clown. The only thing he has.
He's
is
done
now.
some wild stuff. I'm not even with his own teammate, with other drivers. I just look and I'm like, see, this is the type of guy he was. I don't feel like he was ready for Formula One yet. I just don't feel like he was there yet. I feel like he should have spent at least 2 or 3 more seasons in F2 because, again, there's more deserving guys that have that seat, in my opinion.
Agreed.
And when you're spinning out your own you got a 5-second penalty for spinning out your own teammate. Man, listen. I thought, to me, that was one of the biggest clown moments of the race. I was like, "What? You come on, man! Like, what are you trying to do?"
Well, not just that. Once he got the 5-second time penalty in lap 44, he ends up in the gravel because of mechanical failure. So he didn't finish anyways.
He didn't finish
anyway. But lap 34, Bottas overtakes Leclerc for 4th position, which I was super geeked about because, again, by lap 34, to have worked your way back from 19.
Well, test driver, man, that's
amazing. Now,
that boy had pace. Didn't he have pace to hold?
He had amazing pace. Now, at this point, the grid was looking Rick, Norris, Perez, Bottas. Perez had a couple of situations at Monza where he kept going off the track. He did it under a sprint. That you commented about, where he kept going off the track, getting, some advantage.
But then he had to give
then either not giving it back fast enough or just not giving it back at all. So Perez, as a result of making one of those moves, gets a 5-second penalty. So even though...
Put him behind Leclerc.
Even though when the checkered flag went off, it was Danny, Rick, Norris, and Perez, then Bottas across the line because of that 5-second penalty served to Perez. On the podium was Rick, Norris, and Bottas.
Now, mind you, guys, let me know and let us know in the comments how you felt about the race, the crash, the Mazepin situation. When I saw Bottas getting close to Perez, I didn't like it. I said he already had, when you found out he had the 5-second penalty, don't try to overtake, because you two are probably going to collide. Just being honest, Perez is not giving an inch, and I get it. But that's some of those corners around Monza are very tight, mostly all of them in my opinion. Straightaway is where you want to pass. I said if you can't pass them on the straight, do not go on the outside, inside. Don't attack any corner because you're probably gonna collide.
I agree, and at that point, there's no point. Let's just, just follow him. Once he gets the 5-second penalty, you're gonna end up on the podium anyways. There's no point in risking it. The risk is simply too high.
It's too high. And I want to shout out Robert Kubica. It was good to see him back.
Yes.
Guys, how did you feel about Robert? He finished 14th. He finished above Mick. I know it's not saying a lot. I know everybody will say that's 14th, but I was happy to see him back, man. He's another one that could have died in an F1 car and came back miraculously. If you don't know that about Robert Kubica, just go look up his story and see what happened. It was good to see him back. Giovinazzi finished 13th.
Yes, but again, his race was in essence ruined right at the start.
I felt bad for him. I wanted him to finish well, guys, because I was like, you know what? I don't think the kid gets, out of all the drivers on the grid, I think he gets the least shine. The least shine, Giovinazzi. Yeah. I never really see anybody talking about him. When Italian fans speak, they always talk about Ferrari, which is understandable. So I feel like he's one of those guys that's just, he doesn't get enough shine, and I think he's a good driver. I was hoping he would do well in the top 10 in Italy because that could have, to me, would have given Alfa Romeo more incentive to keep him next year. I think he's a good young talent. I don't want to see him lose his seat. Put it like that. I don't think he's done enough to lose the seat. Yeah. So I was hoping he'd do well.
Also, a great loser this weekend, Gasly.
Man,
Gasly would have been another person that would have been easily in the top 5, 6.
I think he would have finished above the Ferraris.
Oh yes.
I think he would have been behind. It would have been between him and Perez battling it out, which I think would have been good. I actually wanted to see that battle. Let me know in the comments, guys, what do you think about that battle. I actually wanted to see Perez and Gasly go at it on track.
Yeah.
I think that's what I was like, you know what? I think we'll see it this weekend. I was hoping. But that's okay. But again, guys, my McLaren boys.
McLaren boys.
Showed out. First 1-2 all season. I'm not mad at it. And
we saw the shoey.
Of all the Danny Rick doubters who wrote him off permanently. Hey, man, how you feel? That's all I'm going to say. All my fellow McLaren fans, guys, we have something to celebrate. 1 and 2.
1 and
We're
2.
back above, and I believe with this race, we are back above Ferrari in the standings, in the constructors. And we got them by 13.5 points, right? So this really helped us out. And I'm happy to see it. So we needed it. I think it's 1 week off, then it's Russia.
Yes, Russia, September 26th.
It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one.
Predictions for Russia.
Tension's going to be high between Hamilton,
of course,
and Max. I think them two are going to go at it again. This is not the last you've seen them two battling. I think my McLaren boys have gotten a taste of victory, and they're going to come back strong. I think we're going to see a rejuvenated Bottas. I think Bottas is in the mix in Russia. I think Bottas is in the mix strong. I think Gasly's back in the mix. And them two Ferraris have a strong showing in Russia, I think.
Where do you think your McLarens are going to enter?
Russia, I'll boldly say it. I want to see realistically, 4th and 5th. If not 3rd and 4th. Because I'm counting on, again, talking about emotional. Max, to me, when he gets aggressive, he gets emotional, and he gets overly aggressive. So I'm thinking another, I don't know. Maybe another light incident. I don't know. Oddly enough, I don't think it's going to be with Hamilton this time. I don't think it's going to be with Hamilton.
I stick to my point. I think this is going to be the deciding moment. That 3-place grid penalty for Max. I think this is going to be the moment that we're going to all look back on and go, yep, that decided the championship.
Someone who I think, because if it's a 5-race grid penalty, he's probably three. He's probably going to be, if Perez doesn't qualify well, he'll probably be next to his teammate. Those two, if they battle, guys, what are team orders? Because so far,
I don't think they're going to battle.
I hope not.
I don't think so.
Because Max will battle his teammate. He battled Danny Rick.
Yeah, but I don't think Sergio will engage in that, because Sergio is aware that he's fighting for the championship. I'm just playing support.
I think those two end up going at it with the Ferraris next race.
Okay.
Those Ferraris, I think, are going to run about where on pace where he's penalized. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Or he's probably, more than likely, he may get into it with my McLarens. And I want to see another battle with him and Danny Rick.
Okay.
Because Danny Rick got the best of him. So I think because of the penalty, I think that's where you'll see a battle.
Okay.
Depending on where he qualifies, that's assuming he gets pole and he's only going to start 4th. If Bottas and Hamilton out qualify him, say he gets 3rd, that puts him at
6th.
He's around there with Gasly. He's around there with the Ferraris.
So
maybe Alonso.
I'm here to tell you, Max does not want to get into it with Alonso.
The thing is, you won't see an Alonso Hamilton. You'll see a collision. Because I just do not think Max is going for the chip. And he's not going to back off for anyone. He's not. And Alonso's not going to back off. So I think it'd be another collision, honestly.
Okay, well, we will certainly be tuning in.
Guys, let us know your predictions for Russia. What did you think about the race? Let us know your overall thoughts. And again, shout out to my McLaren boys. Can't say it enough. 1-2, the only 1-2 all season. I think we're back. I think we're going to see a better Danny Rick going forward, at least I hope. But I think we're back, guys. And I'm happy to see it. My McLaren boys couldn't have done any better today. And any final thoughts, Babyface? Anything?
No, I think I need a nap after this race.
Happy Lewis is alive.
Yeah.
Happy Lewis is alive. I mean,
this was quite an emotional roller coaster in Monza. Monza delivered on everything.
It was good to see. Guys, we appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you next time. I think we got to do a Let's Talk About It. I think it's due, Babyface.
We will need... There are several things we need to dissect. Hamilton and Verstappen crashes is one of them. We
need to dissect a couple of things, but guys, we'll do that. Let's Talk About It video, and we're going to talk about a few things. So, guys, again, thanks for tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.
Bye.